Okay, we are now live. Let me share my page. So Anna, you can share on your page as well.
Yes. I'm doing that now, trying to do that now.
Right.
One more thing.
Okay.
Okay, I just put it on Instagram and Facebook, letting people know we are live.
Okay, Tochi, I think we're good.
Okay, Ma, you can go live right now. You can start up. It's 3 p.m.
Okay, are you ready?
I am ready. Just putting a last message on Instagram. And I'm with you guys. Good afternoon.
Okay. All right, guys. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isabel Smith. Welcome to another edition of the Octopus series. Today, we'll be talking about reinventing the event professional. It's a series we're running, and today our special guest is Ana Cruz. She's the CEO of AnaCruzEvents in Miami-Dade, Florida, and I would allow her tell you more about herself. Welcome, Ana.
Hi,
nice
welcome, and thank you for having me. My name is Ana Cruz, as Izobi just mentioned. I have been in the event planning industry for over 20 years. I've had my own business for 18 years. I made some notes so I don't forget anything. I specialize in both corporate and social events, mainly weddings. And I'm a wife, I'm a mother to two, one adult child and a teenage boy. And, you know, some people say that it's balancing work and family, but it's really surviving sometimes. So right now, those survival instincts are definitely kicking in as we're in an interesting time right now. So I'm hoping to share with everyone how to kind of circumvent this time and use it to your advantage to grow your business, and more importantly, to be ready when this is over, because we're going to need to be ready. My background, as I mentioned, is in corporate event planning. In 2005, I was asked to be part of a reality TV show which focused on weddings. And then I became a little bit more relevant in the wedding world. So I'm happy to do both. And both are a challenge right now, but can still happen for sure.
Fantastic, fantastic. So Anna, I think we should just dive right into our discussions today. Yeah. So tell us, what impact did, well, we all know that the global pandemic impacted businesses in general. Today we'll be discussing on the events industry, how we know what's happening to us here. We would want to hear your take, global perspective of what's going on over on your end.
Well, I'll speak first regarding my home base, which is Florida. And unfortunately, Florida is one of the states doing the worst in the US in terms of, you know, flattening the curve and returning to normal. Our reopenings for our states are based in phases, phase 1 through phase 4. We are still in phase 1, which makes doing events extremely limiting. So it really is a challenge. Right now, social gatherings as defined by the state ordinance say that you can have no more than 10 people at a gathering. Obviously, you know, there are some ways around this because it depending on the venue that's hosting the event, we need to adhere to their guidelines and how they're designated. So for instance, if it's a restaurant that's allowed, you know, 50% of their capacity, and with social distancing, perhaps you can have a larger event, but you still don't have, you know, the dancing, and many places you're not allowed to have an open bar, and things of that nature. I recently did an event last month, and it was for 30 people. It was a small bridal shower, and you know, they did their games from their table, and they had a very nice lunch, and it was a very nice event, but it was definitely different. So that's definitely a challenge. I just flew in from Boston, where I did an event there. I mean, for my business in particular, I do events all over the world, so I'm able to kind of go where things are more flexible if my clients are flexible to go. So I did an event in Boston, and their limit was 100 guests, inclusive of vendors. So still a very small event compared to the size events I normally do. While I was there, they changed the mandate, and effective today, it's been pulled back to 50 people. So it is quite a challenge, and couples really need to be flexible and kind of roll with it. And I keep reminding them that they'll have an amazing story to tell, that their love was unstoppable, and even a pandemic couldn't stop them, and they found a way to, you know, get married. So it's important, you know, as a planner, we are the support system to our clients. So we need to remain positive, because positivity is contagious. So, you know, normally I tell my clients that if they don't want to make any concessions, that, you know, we're dealing with things that are the law. And you know, in that respect, I'm all about bending rules and being creative, but the law is the law. And you know, as a professional, I follow it. So I let them know if they're not really willing to make those concessions, and if after their wedding day, they're going to wish that they had done it different, then they should consider postponing to when they have a little more freedom to do what they'd like. I've also had many clients who have actually had the ceremony, and then they have postponed their reception for their 1-year anniversary. So I've had a couple of people do that. And we've also included live streaming. So for instance, the wedding that I just did in Boston was initially for 300 people. So the guests that could not attend were able to click on a link that we set up, and they were able to see the ceremony in real time. So, you know, it's sad, but I mean, they were able to take part in it. So thank goodness we do have technology where we can do some of that. So I've done a few parties with live streaming. And you know, again, for those clients that are moving forward, I tell them to embrace it. Like, you know, make masks a part of your event. So I'll give you an example. I'm all about the visuals. Okay. So, you know, you can wear a mask, you see, it's a mask, or you can wear a mask. It's all about how much fun you wish to have with it. For the wedding I did over the weekend, we had a fabulous designer. Her name is Paola Ramirez, and she made these beautiful custom masks. She had his and hers. This is what a hers one looked like. And it's really beautiful. And I'll put it close to my camera, like the detail of it.
Okay, I can see the sequence.
Stunning. So the guests came to the event, and, you know, they had their masks, and, you know, but they were so excited. They were like, oh, this is so beautiful. And they wanted to wear it. So it's kind of like a way to take something that's whatever and making it fun and embracing it. So, you know, masks are definitely the new favor. I mean, there's all types of fun things that you can do, shiny, pretty, put your monogram on them. So, you know, it's just a matter of kind of owning it.
Yeah, I understand that in the new normal, we should learn to embrace what's going on and just
Yeah.
come up with innovative ideas
Right.
to live in the moment instead of brooding over what could have been.
Right.
So yes, it's great. I'm loving this mask, and I would definitely be recommending stuff such to my clients. Again, Anna, for apart from clients, apart from relating with clients, in your community, I'm sure that you have a community of vendors.
Yes.
You guys relate and work together and share experiences. How have you guys been able to bond and encourage each other and just just ride the storm, ride out the storm?
Well, we try to keep in touch, and kind of sometimes it's nice to just have someone in the industry to talk to. Something as simple as that. Someone to understand your struggles and understand what you're going through. And for me, as someone who looks for creative vendors to recommend to my clients, I've been watching who's been creative and who has just kind of given up. So I appreciate the fact that, a lot of my real creative vendors that I knew were like the cream of the crop, they're finding interesting ways to do things. So I'll give you a few for instances. One of the florists that I work with from a company called The Bride Candy, he has started a monthly subscription where people can pay an amount so that they can send a bouquet to someone every month for the year. And he has inspiration bouquets that are inspired by different celebrities. And to hear him describe it, like he has the "Hit Me Baby One More Time" bouquet, and it's inspired by Britney Spears. And it's like he's going virtual and he's showing it off and he's doing videos about it. And one of the things, that I wanted to touch upon today is, people can listen to us and they can look in this and say, well, what can I do? I'm not making money. I'm struggling. I'm not feeling creative. I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, because for so much of us in this business, our business is so much who we are, and to lose that part of it is really something that's detrimental to us. So as we move on and we're creative, I want to go through a few things that I think are very helpful. And one is to encourage clients to go virtual. They don't always think about it, but for instance, for me, with my corporate clients, they do award presentations during this time of year, normally in the summer, and they recognize their employees. So I reached out to my corporate clients and said, look, we can have the event, but now more than ever, you really need to recognize your employees, because you want to show them that you appreciate them. They're working from home, they're balancing all these different things. Some of them are working and having to homeschool their children. So we came up with creative ways to deliver awards. So we recently had a client who did I don't know if everyone around the world knows what Publishers Clearinghouse is. It's like a company that gives people money, and they surprise them at the door with a giant check and balloons and roses, and they say, you've won, and they make a big hoopla. So I'm like, we could do the prize patrol. We could do that. So I hired an actor with a microphone to pretend we're on TV, a cameraman, and all socially distanced. We went out and knocked on the winners' doors with our masks and gloves, and we gave them their award. And we were able to videotape that, which then was shared with all the employees that were willing to the following day to go live and just see it. And it was really, really cool. And those employees felt really, really special. And it was nice when they stepped out of their homes. A lot of them had their families with them. And now their families were part of their award presentation. And it was really special. So as planners, we need to remind our clients that they can still do stuff like this and still make it special. I will be posting on my Instagram, which is AnaCruzEvents, later today, I will be posting a video for a couple who was celebrating their birthday. Husband and wife have the same birth date. They just had a baby not too long ago, and you know, their friends and family really wanted to surprise them. So I found a vendor who created a giant cake. And what she does with this mobile cake is she will take it and put it in front of someone's house. And we can have anything pop out of this cake. It could be a musician, it could be a dancer, it could be you if you want to surprise a friend you haven't seen in a long time. So we did that. They also had an LED robot on stilts, like a giant robot that delivered a bottle of champagne. And before he handed it to them, he sprayed it with a CO2 cannon to show that it was sanitized. So they got a big laugh out of that.
That's nice.
And their friends and families gathered up front. So with their permission, I'm going to be posting that video later today on my Instagram. And, you know, it's just different ways to do things. The other thing I have found, especially with corporate clients, is that they usually have big meetings. Most of my corporate clients have events from 800 guests and up. So very hard for them to do an event. But I pointed out to them, you know, remember that speaker that didn't fit your budget because they were, you know, a lot of money plus travel and lodging? You know what? Now you can get them at a fraction of the cost, and you can get them virtually. So they have a login, all their guests can log in, and the presentation's done virtually. I just did one at the end of July. They were able to engage in a Q&A with all the employees, and they had access to someone that, you know, really didn't fit the budget before. So, you know, that's another silver lining. And also,
I think we all always need to look for the silver lining.
Yeah,
We always need to look for the upside. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other things with venues is sports arenas. Sports arenas are really, really hurting for business because, you know, they are not getting the concessions revenue. They're not having people there live. So a lot of stadiums are doing socially distanced large events, like our Hard Rock Stadium where the Miami Dolphins play. They converted the field to a drive-in theater. And what you can do in the drive-in is, if your clients want to have a business event, they can come in. The guests can hear what's going on from the radio in their car, and you can customize the presentation. And it's really a win-win for everyone. They also have like large fields where they can do cluster seatings within the guidelines, where there's no more than 6 per people to a table. Tables are at least 6 feet apart, and they can serve the guests by buffet if it's manned by someone, and the guests get up by table. So there's definite ways, and this is another way for us to help each other. There are large venues that have designations that will allow large groups in certain layouts. So you're giving them revenue, they're helping you keep a client happy, and it's really like a win-win. And, you know, I already mentioned the live streaming, and really at the end of the day, make it fun. We are in this business because we're creative. So if anyone can weather the storm, it's us. We can figure it out.
It's us. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's us.
One of the
So in terms of
what?
Go on.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to ask, in terms of, so what I hear from you now is innovation, creativity, which is key. If we didn't have those qualities, we would not be event planners.
Right.
With the team, with your immediate team, what do you do with them? When the pandemic broke out, there were lots of layoffs, people were put on furlough, but most people were out of jobs. So what do you do to connect with your team? What would you advise people to do to keep the team vibrant?
Well, first of all, as business owners, I think that it's important for us to know what is out there in terms of assistance. Different places offer businesses different assistance, whether it's tax breaks, whether it's loans that will later be forgiven or paid at a small amount. it's important as business owners that we are aware of what is out there and we apply for whatever we qualify for, so that we can, not for ourselves, but keep our staff engaged. Like for me, I have staff working remotely and they are working on our events that have been rescheduled. So they're making phone calls, they're setting things up, and I'm trying to keep them engaged in that way as much as possible. You know, it's difficult, but I think first and foremost, what we all need to do is take care of ourselves and be positive. Like, are we okay? Like, you know, you have to wake up and be motivated so that you can give that to your staff so that they can share in that. Like for me, it's important for me to get up in the morning and get dressed and look nice. Like I'm going to share with you. Even I'm on, nobody's going to see my shoes, but I'm wearing my fancy shoes, even though I'm sitting here. Why? Because it makes me feel good. And that's important. Okay. And you know, it keeps me motivated and it makes me feel like I'm still doing things. So I think that first and foremost, being positive, taking care of ourselves and being aware of our mental health and that we're good. Now is really a great time to see who's out there. Maybe there's vendors that you never had a chance to explore. You know, reach out and say, hey, listen, you know, when all this is over, I'm like really updating my roster of vendors that I love. I've never worked with you. I want to see what you have to offer. And just really like take this time to update your pool of vendors, and they'll be happy to talk to you. And it's great because, you know, you're giving them a light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, you know, I have this planner and we clicked and we met, and when this is over, I'm going to get new business. So I think that's really important. I think people should look at their website. Is your website on point? You know, these are things we don't normally have the time to do. So is your website everything you wanted? I mean, stay out there and be productive. Like, this isn't a moneymaker, but do tutorials, share what you do, make short videos for Instagram, have fun with it. People will appreciate it, and it keeps you in their mind, because when all this is over, people are going to be desperate to celebrate, and you want to make sure that when they're ready to do that, that they remember you. So that's the biggest thing that I could tell you, is to stay out there, stay engaged. It's good for you, and it's also, you know, good for your clients and the vendors that you're involving.
Great, great. So positivity is key.
Yes.
And bonding, making yourself, as in making sure that you're okay before you're able to make the next person okay. I get that.
Definitely.
In terms of, unfortunately, we do know that some businesses will die. Right. Some businesses will die. Some people, it may just be out of, well, it may just be natural causes, or it may be out of frustration based on the pandemic.
Right.
So what would be your advice for an event professional who wants to pivot either out of the event industry completely or into another area of the events industry? Let's say from being a planner to whatever else, or from being a venue stylist to whatever else. What advice do you have for someone?
Well, I mean, now is definitely a good time to reset and assess what you really want to do. I mean, I would hope that, you know, as an event planner, people would want to stick it out, because we are going right now through probably the worst time that we've ever been through. I'm very confident it will lead to the best time. So it's not the best time to leave the industry, but also if you have that feeling to not continue, perhaps then it was in the cards for you to do something else. So I have had you know, a planner from my staff who shortly before all this happened, she was kind of feeling it. She wanted to do photography, so she has educated herself. She has actually taken this time and been doing a lot of family portraits and things of that nature, and she's really shining at it. So I think that this downtime gives us all an opportunity to reflect and figure out if this is for us, if we want to, you know, ride this out and come out on the other side. And again, I hope that planners do, because we're really, really, really going to be needed, because people are going to be very, very ready to celebrate. And I think one of the good things that will come of this, our industry will be forever changed. I don't think that it's for the worse. I think I mean, and I speak for myself, I was dealing with a lot of clients who wanted bigger, better, and things were really over the top, and how do I top this, and so it became more and more of just making it a thing versus like forgetting why we're there. And I think this is going to make people appreciate having you know, their family there versus maybe having 500 cannons shoot petals as they walk in the room, you know. So people are going to definitely be have a different, our clients will have a different perspective, and I think that that'll be really good for us to go back to what's important at an event. I really do believe that.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. I think that people can use the downtime to do a lot of things, In fact, you can even start a new business, not hoping to pivot. Just
Right.
Start a new business, an additional stream of income, I'm sure is always welcome to any
Right.
business owner. So great stuff, Anna, great stuff. Another thing I would want to ask is, like, for event planners, you talked about tutorials and all of that. There are some people who are a bit skeptical about giving out free tutorials or free training. Most people want to, especially at this time, they're looking for, they're being innovative in order to make money. So, and some other people are not willing to pay. They want that training, but they don't want to pay. How do we marry that?
It's tough. It's tough right now. I just think that the focus first here should be staying present rather than making money. If there's a way to make money, obviously, I mean, there is. I don't know that by doing a tutorial or giving advice or posing yourself as an expert in your field is giving away any trade secrets. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but it's a fine line. I think that you could sit there and say, well, people aren't subscribing or paying or being part of this, so why am I going to train them? Or you can think about it as, well, you know, I am putting myself out there as an expert and having people see me as such. So you kind of have to figure out what's most important. I mean, and there's definite ways to monetize things, but I don't know. I mean, for me, that's not like the most important part of putting yourself out there right now.
Okay, I hear you absolutely, and I think I'm with you on that, and that's one of the things that one of the reasons why the OCTOPUS series was birthed. So yeah, I hear you 100% on that. So Anna,
yes,
going forward, because obviously business has opened, even though it's still in phases. Business has opened for you guys. For us here, it's a bit dicey. In some other parts of Nigeria, people are going ahead and doing events. People are not open. They haven't settled into the reality of smaller events. Like I told you, most of our events are big. A typical small wedding is about 350 to 500 people.
Right.
That's a small wedding for
Right.
us in our client. We're used to weddings of 800, 1,000.
Right.
So now having to struggle with, so I think the biggest challenge we may have is our clients.
Yeah,
And
it is.
Having to get them to that mindset of, look, we can still have this and still get people online virtually to plug in and still have a great time. I think so this is just a comment. That's my greatest challenge.
It's a tough sell. And I find I struggle a bit with, people in the States who are having an event, let's say, now they're doing it in their backyard. Backyard weddings are very popular right now because people feel that, they can do whatever they want in their home. I mean, that's tricky though, because there's still a state mandate and that law applies to all gatherings. So as a planner, you are caught in a difficult position where you don't want to be at the helm of an event that is not legal, because at the end of the day, you are a respected professional, and those aren't rules that any respected professional should be willing to bend. For me, I have had clients sign waivers stating that I have made them aware of what the laws are. I attach the mandate from whatever state it is, and just basically explain that they are assuming the risk to have an event during a pandemic and that they understand what the state guidelines are. And it's really at that point something that they need to follow. And as a planner, at the event, if things don't go exactly 100%, it's within your right to stay there or not. And it's kind of sad to say, but we all want to have that wedding featured in the newspaper, but we don't want it featured because several guests were sick, or worse, someone passed away as a result of an event. So we really need to make sure that our clients understand that these are not suggestions, these are laws, and the laws are in place to keep them and their guests safe. So our role as planner has always been to educate our clients. And I think now more than ever, we need to give them the professional advice, even if that advice means that an event that we were planning to do and get paid for now gets delayed for a later time. We really can't get desperate and start doing things that aren't right, because we won't be able to sustain our businesses when this is over if we do that. So I think that's very important.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It's well, I'm a lawyer, so I know that.
Well, you get it.
I know that going against the set guidelines and rules is a no-no. So yes, we will not be caught doing that, because really, like you pointed out, it is bad for business. It is bad for business. So Anna, during the week we had some questions come in. So I'm just going to ask Tochi, please, can we have those questions posted so we could answer them? So we'll just wait for the questions to
While we're waiting, we have some, I see different people popping up on the screen. Hello to DJ G's Empire. Hello, how are you?
He's muted, so you
Give me some shout outs out there to people. Dorothy is on here.
Hello, shout out to you.
Hi.
Okay.
Dorothy is on here. JS, Jules, Jay. Lots of people. Teddy.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Do you want me to read these off the screen? I'm seeing some things come in.
Yeah, I could just read it out to you. So I'll take the first one.
Okay.
In light of social distancing and staying safe, what tools or practices have event planners implemented to continue in the business?
Is this question referring to how we need to set up the event, or how we're controlling people from to be socially distanced?
Yes, I think that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
So I've had some vendors that have designed some very cool, like slicks, like stickers that can be put on the dance floor to denote
Okay.
places for people to stand when they dance.
Oh,
So what's
okay,
nice
cool.
is that, you know, you can customize them. It could be the couple's monogram. It could be, you know, a heart. It could be something. So maybe you have a dance floor full of hearts, and wherever there's a heart, you can stand and dance.
You can stand
So
and
there's
dance.
no swinging around or whatever, but that's a good way to combat it. With the tables, obviously, that's easier. We do at least 6 feet apart. We do 6 people to a table on a normal 10 or 12 top. So it's spacious. Okay. And it can be done. I mean, it's not, you know, terribly difficult. You know, some of the things that I find that people are struggling with is, you know, some states are not allowing an open bar. In this case, you know, okay, you can have service at the table in some states. You know, I think they also are very concerned about people drinking too much and being unaware of social distancing, and that can happen. Also, the whole
You're
dancing
right.
situation, some places do not allow dancing at all. Some, if you can do social distancing, will allow it. So again, we are problem solvers as planners. So bring it on, because we're going to be able to solve it.
Exactly. I like those tips of the hearts on the dance floor. Cool. Okay. Ivy says, with bills and taxes waiting in line to be paid and very few events holding, how can an event planner stay positive and still remain in business?
That's a great question, and that's very, very difficult. If your whole income, you know, you don't have a second income in your home and everything's on you, it's very difficult. That is why I had mentioned before, any programs that are in place, and I don't know what's going on where you all are, but here at the beginning, it was very slow for planners and people in the event industry to get assistance. But, you know, once the assistance came, it has been, you know, very helpful for many people and keeping them afloat during this time. So I think we need to take this time to educate ourselves as to what programs are out there. Also, depending on what type of vendor you are, if you're an event planner that does other things, maybe, you know, you do event design, you know, you're able to lend your design for smaller events, for dinner parties, for, you know, doing tutorials where people can subscribe, you know, offering design from a distance. I have had some people do that. The event's happening someplace else. The planner's not traveling. They're still designing the layout and doing those things and charging for what they can. For me, with my virtual clients, for instance, I had a contract at the end of July. It was a large contract. That contract was for over 1,000 people. So what I did was I went through the contract. I took out the things that were not happening, like, for instance, the expense for all the staffing, since we're not going to be there live. But let's not forget, these events, even if they're virtual, they require coordination. They require a planner, whether we're there or not. So we need to figure out ways that we could still offer our services. And I know I don't want to sound like I'm not sympathetic to the fact that, you know, well, I still need to pay this bill, what now? But we need to think of what we need to do first, and that's second, because it's very easy to get deflated and feel like, you know, you're doomed. So to summarize, find out what programs are available and find ways that you can offer your services virtually. That would be my top things to recommend there. I lost your audio, Izobi. I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
I'm back. Okay. The last question. I can't see the chat anymore. There was a question from DJ G's Empire.
Yes.
You want to take that, Anna?
I see the questions here.
Okay.
Let's see. We DJs has really affected us so badly, and we find it difficult to even cater for our needs at this point that all our events are on pause. What can you advise us? Well, you can stream yourself live. one, to keep yourself out there, and two, there may be people that are having events. They could be having events in their home. They could be doing smaller things where you can come in through a live feed. There's also an opportunity. There's a DJ locally here that does it. And he does, going back to the days of the mixtape, where he's actually selling, depending on your type of party and your taste in music or whatever, he will make a custom playlist for you, custom mixed. And that's something people can purchase. So there's definitely ways to get your DJ services out there. It's just about being creative. I mean, I hope I answered your question and maybe gave you some ideas, but we need to think music is something that you can send anywhere.
You're quite right, Anna, you're quite right. He has a party every Sunday, so we all get to party with him every Sunday for about an hour, 30 minutes. So
why am I not invited to that party? I need to go to that party.
I'm going to send you a link.
Please,
for the next
I want to
one.
go to that party.
I promise you that. I'm going to send you a link.
And one thing we all need to remember, people remember what people have done during this time. So we are not in the business of just, to have a successful business, you can't be in the business of just one event. You're building relationships. And when you help people during this time, you know, people remember that. So we've seen a lot of people, particularly with the DJs, like DJ Nice on Instagram. He went global, just, you know, spreading positivity and making really good music for people to listen to. J.I. Star, who is a New York DJ, who I actually did his wedding, he goes live on Facebook and on Instagram, and he does house music. And you know, are people paying to hear him? No, but you know what? When the time comes that you can, you're going to remember those people that really shined during this time and did stuff to also make people happy, even though they were down. So I think that's really important to remember. Yeah,
I think it's key that we stay positive and spread positivity around. Definitely. Yeah, like I always say, the answer a planner will give you is a no. A planner will say, let me make a call. So we are problem solvers, and yes, we will beat this and come out shiny.
Yeah, well, we got to get ready, because people are going to, if people were taking events for granted at all, like if they were thinking, oh, I'll wait to have my party, then I'll do that. That's not going to happen anymore. They're going to be itching to have a party, to celebrate, to hug their friends. And I mean, we're very lucky that we're going to have a hand in making that happen. So right now, you know, the doctors, the people providing food, you know, the police officers, firefighters, those are our essential people. When this ends, we're going to be essential people for a lot of people. And we need to remember that. We need to keep strong. And you know, I know it's difficult, especially when we're hurt financially, but we need to persevere.
Yes, I think so as well. Absolutely. Okay, we have another question that must have come in. What are the major event planners putting in place to interface with the government to place a balance with keeping the regulations and also staying in business? What are you guys doing as a body?
Well, I mean, there's different groups that have come together to lobby for the industry. Have they been necessarily successful? I don't think so. I'll use it for instance, in Boston, there was a large group of people in the industry, from DJs, vendor, florists, venues. They all came together to lobby to up that minimum number, because it was at 100. And they lobbied very hard and fought very hard, but it just got reduced to 50. So, you know, I think that unfortunately, events are something that the government doesn't look at as essential, and it is an uphill battle. I think that what we can do as industry professionals is stick together to lobby for ourselves when we can. You know, I think right now that's not in the forefront. Like nobody is taking on the cause in a high level position to say, yes, let's have parties for 300 people. Nobody wants to be responsible if that goes wrong. So it's hard.
Well, I guess we will we'll hang in there and stay positive and keep busy.
Yeah.
On my end,
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm seeing, thank you so much for your advice. That we should not give up now. I believe that events will be back after COVID in a big way. Exactly. JSPS, hello.
Yes.
Yes, I do agree with whoever it is. We will. Oh wow, Ada. Okay, the chat is buzzing. Okay. Personally, IB says personally, I think the event industry should put together all these great ideas for social distancing and staying safe and present it to the government so they know that even though there's a pandemic, we can still handle a little more than 500 or 550, sorry,
yes,
or 100 guests. I think some clients will feel more comfortable knowing they can have some of their family and friends instead of putting events on hold. Yes.
It's 100% true. And for me, there's a private island here in the Miami Beach area that is very exclusive. You can only get there via ferry, and they are on top of whatever is deemed by the state. They're able to mandate what they allow to come on and off this island. So I have worked with their catering department, and their catering manager has worked very hard in getting information from people in the industry and ideas like the stickers on the dance floor, like all those things, so they can present to them, this is, if you allow us to let the people in, this is what we can do. And you know, that's a very good point, because by putting it out there, you know, you can't just whine and say, yes, we want to do 100 people, it'll be fine. We need to show specifically how we're going to make that happen so that people are comfortable.
Yes, yes. I know that I have been having conversations with event centers, you know, to know what protocols are put in place in terms of what are some of the guidelines that the government has put in place for us is that they must have wash stations outside.
Right.
So for those, what have you put in place? What do you have the social distancing tiles? Do you have it in place, or do you have I see some sanitizing doorways. I see that. So they just have different stuff. Some are trying to be more innovative. They're going the extra mile, adding to what guidelines have been given. So I think everybody's on their toes. Everybody's trying to make the best of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's definitely people, first and foremost, I mean, people's safety is the most important thing. I think as planners, we can show ways within the guidelines that we can make this happen 100%. So I agree with it's IB that you know, we can handle safely events of 50 to 100 people, and even more than that if the guidelines are in place, and if our clients are willing to comply and impose that upon their guests. That's important. Yeah. We need to have their buy-in. If not, it doesn't work.
Exactly. That's why I say the biggest challenge I'm having is getting the clients to stick to numbers. Like, oh, between this family and this family, we are more than 50 already. I'm like, look, we should be. If not, so we have a huge fine in place here. It's 10 million. It's 10 million naira, which is in the neighborhood of about $22,000. Yes. So if you're ready to part with that, so not only do you have a horrible memory because they will shut the event down, you still get to pay.
Correct. And let me ask you something, Ethiopia, on that, and it may be a question others are thinking. So if you're the planner of an event that gets fined, who gets the fine? Does the planner get the fine or the client gets the fine?
Or it's the client?
Okay.
Yes, it's the client, simply because one of the guidelines, again, one of the stipulations is that every guest should be registered. So the owner of the event goes to the ministry, registers the event, registers all their guests. So your name is down there, but I wouldn't want to be a planner at the event that gets fined.
Well, I mean, here in the States, in New York recently, there was a party boat, like one of these big multi-layer boats that has events and goes out. And they had an event with over 600 people, and things were not being enforced. And the planners of the event, which I think were the owners of the venue, were arrested. They were arrested. So, I mean, it's no joke. It's like,
yeah, that makes sense, because the responsibility is shared.
Yeah.
For the owners of the event, those are the clients, and the event center.
Yeah.
Like an event center said to me, if I don't see a government confirmed event, I wouldn't rent my event center to you. So without that confirmation from the government that your application for your event has been approved, that government approval, they won't even rent the venue to you. So those are all the things. So I think it's a shared responsibility.
And you have that. We don't have that here. We do not, our events are not registered. So as planners, it's very difficult because we really need to impress upon our clients what they need to do. I mean, right now, the state here in Florida, they hope that the venue is following the mandate and that they're sticking to the guidelines. If people are bending the rules, I mean, there's really no way. Sometimes as a planner, you come in and you don't know, and you might have an event for 100 people and 140 people were let in, and you're there, and what do you do? So it's difficult. So it's good that you all at least have the safeguard that you know the event was registered and that you have that paper trail. We don't have that.
Okay, yeah, that's just to help with tracing should anything happen.
Of course, very responsible and good. Yeah. That's excellent.
Tracing. I have another comment from DJGs. It says, but from my view, I think this pandemic has come to stay, unfortunately. So why doesn't the government just allow us to manage that specific crowd of 50 to 100? Well, it's still government guidelines. We'll wait and hear from them.
Yeah, it's tough and it's frustrating. And you have to keep in mind, we know what can be done because we're in it. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
For the government, if anything even looks like it could be questionable, they're not going to deal with it.
They'll shut it down.
Yeah, they'll shut it out. Yeah. So unfortunately, we have an uphill battle there, and you know, it's difficult.
Yeah, I think a way to go will be getting our local bodies, our community of event professionals, to have an interface with the government and really advise. Yeah, and advise, since that's our area of expertise. I think that's something we should look into.
The event industry here is very, you know, is really important to the community. I mean, in Florida and Miami specifically, you know, we are a big wedding destination. So it really affects hotels, it affects restaurants, it affects a lot of people. So, you know, once they get a handle on these numbers that seem to keep climbing, I think that our government will be more receptive to, you know, hearing what the industry has to say to fix this, because it is a big impact here in Miami for sure.
Yeah, and all over the world, because when we look at it, the events industry, the tourism industry, and the hospitality industry, it's a perfect love triangle. Yeah. So what affects one affects the other. So it's a major blow everywhere. Right. But I think we'll weather the storm by being creative, by being positive, and by utilizing our downtime positively, whatever
Definitely.
it is that
I
you are
mean, now
open
is
to
the
do.
time to, I mean, you got to think about it that you are going to the Party Olympics and you are training right now because when those floodgates open, we have to be
Wow.
ready. So is your
Yeah, we
website on
will.
point? Are your vendors in line? Are your, in different things? So, we need to get ready.
Contracts are another thing.
Yeah,
Are your contracts up to, because now we may need to tweak contracts to include
definitely. That's a good point.
guidelines and stipulations. And also a lot of feedback I was getting from my colleagues in the industry here, from our little community here, with the global pandemic and events had to be postponed or rescheduled. They had a lot of clients asking for a refund.
Right.
And most vendors were not open to doing that. And I said to them, I'll give you an example for like someone who has ordered stuff, because most of the vendors I work with are on top of their game, so they want to do everything well ahead of time, instead of being in 911 mode. So you order stuff, you've done all of that. So some people had a lot of difficulty explaining to clients that, look, this monies have been spent for your event. So I said, okay, let's have a middle ground. You can't do any refund, no problem. You want a refund. Why don't we translate that refund to a deposit for a future event?
Right.
Because in law, this is force majeure. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. So ordinarily, where you would have a claim to say, okay, I paid you money and you haven't delivered on your end, or because of whatever behavior, I want my money back. I don't want you to render a service anymore. You can't have that claim. You can't do that because it's force majeure. So I've had to educate both clients and vendors on this to say, look, let's find a middle ground that works for everybody. And at least it's worked out in most cases.
Yeah, I recently had the event that I just did in Boston. They had another venue when they had a much larger group coming, and that venue was no longer didn't make sense for them any longer. So what they were able to negotiate was they paid a small cancellation fee and were reimbursed the rest of their money because, the food hadn't been ordered and things of that nature. So the vendor didn't have a hard expense. One of the things that definitely is going to need to change is there needs to be wording added to our contracts and other vendors' contracts regarding cases like COVID. A lot of people did not have a provision for a pandemic or anything of this nature because who would ever believe this would be a thing? Also, the struggle was a lot of clients. I always advise my clients here in the States to get wedding insurance. It's a small premium and it really covers them for if a vendor doesn't show up, if they need to cancel. It covers them for a bevy of things. But even those policies were not covering this situation. So definitely something that everyone has learned. So I am now adding for contracts that I'm engaging in now for next year is I'm adding a COVID clause where if, for instance, the venue cannot host the event to how it is described in the contract for the client. So in other words, if the contract says that they're hosting an event for 500 people, and because of a state mandate, they cannot offer the event, that they can't come back and say, yeah, but we can do 50 people. No, the client at that point is able to part ways with no penalty. So I've worked with a local attorney here to kind of write out those clauses to protect the clients. And I explained to people, people aren't going to be comfortable if you can't promise this right now. So it's definitely a learning curve.
Evolving. We're evolving, and everything should evolve with us. Yes. So Anna, I've had a beautiful time, and I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat section.
Yes.
thank you so much for honoring our invitation. And like I said, we have been using our downtime to do a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And one of the things we have done is we've come up with a little package with which I told you before, it's a bit challenging for us because we are used to big numbers.
Right.
So we have come out with a little with the latest package from the event show. Tochi, please, can we share the screen and just show our viewers what it is we've come up with? It's called La Petite Fête, which in French means the little party. So we guarantee you events extraordinaire in the new normal. So in line with the provisions as stipulated due to the pandemic. Yes.
So I try to impress upon my clients now that the event may have to be small, but the wow can still be big. So
it will be big.
That's a wow. Look at that table and just the photograph that you have there. That's a wow. That's impressive.
Courtesy of one of my creative event venue stylists. She's called Kay Dan. You should go check her out on Instagram. Fantastic work.
I will have to go and check her out. That's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
That's beautiful. So I mean, listen, if we can impress upon people that their celebration will still be special, if we can share a positivity with them, positivity is contagious. You know, we can make this happen. We really can.
Yes,
we need to stay positive. And I know with finances and other things, it's easier said than done, but that's the only thing we can do right now is be positive.
Yeah, exactly. So it boils down to, as you think, so you are. So I think we should think positive so we can project same. So thank you so much, Anna. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We would have another edition of the Octopus series, same time on Tuesday. We would publicize it and we'll let you know who our next guest is. Thank you so much, Anna. So
thank you, and please. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.